Hi, my name is Daniela Zappador Guerra. It is Guerra, not Guerra. Same meaning and spelling, but Italian pronunciation. I'm Italian. I teach Italian at Cal State Long Beach University, and I'm happy to be here to share with you some thoughts on what it takes to teach and learn my language. So I want to start with a question for you. What do you think people want to talk about when they take an Italian class? What is the main topic? Do you think it's art, music, or literature, history, food? That one it is. It is food. Why? Well, we don't need to be anthropologists to know that food brings people together. It creates a wonderful environment that facilitates connection within the kitchen. The semantic area of pasta, pizza, and tiramisu doesn't raise any concern about being politically correct. Who's obsessed about food, though? Which kind of learners? Tourists, travelers. They want to go to Italy and be able to pronounce with perfect pronunciation bruschetta. Actually, here they say bruschetta, and that worries me because it reminds me of a famous mafioso's last name. You don't want to go to Italy and say buongiorno, bruschetta, per favore. But yes, generally, tourists are also concerned about items that they see in some menus. They want to know what they are. Those items might not be common here in some menus. Imagine, for example, in my region, in Piemonte, we eat carne cruda. What is that? Delicious meat, seasoned with a lot of lemon, but it is raw meat. What is another item? Coniglio. We eat coniglio. What is that? Delicious meat, cooked with wine, but it's not exactly our pet bunny, but it is rabbit. So tourists, they have their reasons to learn Italian. But food applies also maybe in the first day of class. Imagine you are in my class the first day. Go on and write down a list of Italian words that you already know. Teachers, language teachers know that. It makes people feel comfortable, starting with a list of things that they already know. So what do you have in your list? Do you have buongiorno, ciao? Do you have maybe mafia or names of celebrities? For example, what? Sofia Loren or Andrea Bocelli or, I don't know, Michelangelo, Berlusconi? Not that one anymore. But I know the majority of items in your list are dishes, Italian dishes. But what about students? So not necessarily tourists. Why do they take Italian? What is their motivation? Well, if they are enrolled in a language program at Cal State Long Beach, the department is called RGRLL, Romance, German, Russian Languages and Literatures. Then they take Italian because it's a requirement, and it is maybe related to some other subjects. Students who major in art, fashion, industrial design, voice performing, music, they take Italian because it helps with their studies, right, in their subject. But I've seen a lot of senior students. They wait to the last year of university to spend what they saved, the units they saved, to spend them in my class, to spend them to learn Italian and go to their graduation gift trip to Italy. And you guys, I wish you to be able to go there soon when this pandemic is under control. But let's face it, if you speak English, if you speak Spanish, you don't need my language to survive. And then I tell you, there are students who come over with great enthusiasm. I remember the one who walked in and said, "Hi, my name is Jack, but you can call me Fabio." Why Fabio? Maybe Giacomo would be a better cognate, right? But still, he was ready to come in and get into my Italian virtual neighborhood. and he was ready to create his own Italian avatar. That's what happens when maybe you take Italian as a distant learner and you see you in the screen speaking and sounding Italian. And some people get embarrassed for that, especially young people. They don't want to sound different. Their favorite adjective is actually awkward. They don't want to sound awkward, right? They don't want to make mistakes. They don't want any embarrassment. But I tell them there's no embarrassment in a classroom. We all sound the same. And the dynamic of a language class, an Italian class, is that you have to interact with other people. There's no way that you sit in a corner taking notes. You really need to try. And of course it's a language. What do we do with a language? We talk. But I remember a student who was very concerned about that. He was shy, a little bit introverted. He actually didn't want to do the skit. What is the skit? Something they have to perform at the end of the semester. He was terrified. So he asked me if he could instead sing an aria from the Italian opera. An aria from my Italian culture. That's wonderful. And in fact, I tell you, his voice, his performance gave us la pelle d'oca, we say in Italian, goosebumps. It was what I call a glorious Italian moment. Italian moments are encounters that you have with my language in your daily life. I know you meet my language and my culture even here, in different occasions. Commercials in TV, movies, people you meet at the airport, in some shops. So report that to my class, because it's like bringing the world inside, establishing connections between here and there. And I remember a student telling us the story about her mom. Her mom called her when she was eating lunch at Starbucks and asked, "What are you eating, panini?" And she said, "Mom, I don't eat more than one, so you should say panino singular." Her Italian moment for us was teaching a grammar lesson to her mom. And that was special, right? It's what we call metalinguistic awareness. You're ready to discuss what is a language, how it works. And it goes together with metacognitive awareness. Students need to realize that when they learn a language, something happens in their brain. The brain, let's say, develops a new area, like growing new muscles, gymnastics for the brain. It's good against the dementia, they say. So I like to look at pictures that neuroscientists provide, mapping the brain of a second language learner or mapping the brain of a translator. Believe me, it looks like an amusement park. And I use this metaphor of construction. I ask my students to check their awareness of their learning. So how's your construction site in your left frontal lobe? Are you in the basement still? Do you think are you in the first floor? And of course, starting from the basement and going to the highest floor of a skyscraper of proficiency, it takes time and consistency, but we are with you. Teachers are with the students in the basement, and they start with simple procedures, simple practices, like negotiating meaning with the students by using TPR. What is TPR? It's called total physical response, and it's involving in teaching a lot of gestures, which is not a problem for an Italian teacher. What do you think? I use it with my dog, my bilingual dog. I say andiamo, andiamo. I actually don't move anymore. He knows, he connected the movement with the word. And I say biscotto. And of course that's food, so it's easier for him, right? So awareness of what happens in your brain, that's important. We use other methodologies. We mix them up, we borrow them from linguists who come up every time with different practices for teaching and learning. And for example, we started many years ago with the communicative method, which asked us to provide a reasonable input to our students with no interferences from other languages. We were afraid and forbidden to use English or Spanish or any other languages when teaching Italian. But now we use the intercomprehension methodology, which on the contrary encourages you to use anything you know from another Romance language to learn a new one. Any transparency, for example, guerra, guerra, right? And so what was considered a disadvantage and an interference in the past now is flipped to be an advantage and a valuable thing. In fact, we built fast-track courses for Spanish speakers. We have in our Graziadio Center for Italian Studies at Cal State Long Beach, we have fast-track courses for Spanish speakers, Italian for Spanish speakers, French for Spanish speakers, and we even brought grammars for them, so we use them in those courses. Flipping is something we are willing to do. We are willing to change. So for example, we flipped the sequence of homework and classwork. Homework is not anymore what you do after listening to lectures in class. Homework is something to do to prepare for what we do in class together. And when we flip the classroom, also in class, we do different exercises. We don't do mechanic exercises that don't have any meaningful connection with our students' lives. We ask them to do what we call task-based activities. For example, I ask my students to write an email in Italian. They come up with questions. What do you mean an email? What kind of formulas I have to use? What kind of greetings? So it's related to real life. But at the same time, I ask them to write poetry, and you might think, this is crazy. No poetry. I don't write poetry in my own language. How can I write poetry in a foreign language? It's impossible. It's intimidating. But it's not. And the results I've seen from my students are amazing. From the beginners to the master level, they produce pieces of poetry that are liberating. They express their sentiments, their emotions. They actually play with words, with sounds, because poetry is music, language is music. So another practice that is back in fashion is translation. We opened a new center in Cal State Long Beach. It's called Clorinda Donato Center for Romance Languages and Translation Studies. Why do students enroll in that program? Because they know it offers a opportunity to work, job opportunities. And that's important. It's important to realize that what you do in a class of language doesn't end there. It is related to the real world. I've seen, first of all, lasting friendship being born in a language class because students interact and get to know each other. They are not isolated, but also students spend their skills developed in a language class outside when they go study abroad. And when they go study abroad, we take them for a week, a month, an entire year or semester. We take them to different cities, main cities like Roma, Firenze, Venezia, but also small towns like Recanati in the Marche region. And they not only go visiting museums, they actually work there. They enroll in internships. And I've seen them transformed. There's a miracle there. I even took pictures of my students. I brought a bunch of students to Florence for a semester a few years ago, and I took pictures before and after. And there was a change in them, their souls, in their mind, and in their body. They were more confident, willing to listen. They became better listeners. They were more tolerant, curious, respectful towards diversity. And that's what we need from better human beings, right? That's why I tried my best on my side. When students are coming from another culture, I want to know about their culture. I took several semesters of Spanish to know better my students. It's a reciprocal, mutual effort to understand each other. And that's the reason why I feel sad when I hear that many universities are shutting down their language programs. And that's why I'm asking you, if you are an educator, if you are a parent, if you are an administrator, consider really to advocate for language studies. It's good at any age, not only to prevent dementia for some people, but also to create a better you, to transform yourself to become a better human being. And it's not that difficult. It starts from, a lot of gestures and maybe simple words like bruschetta. So please, think about that, and thank you.